Hello everyone, it's Julie from Heart to Hand Stamping, and I'm back with another video tutorial today. It's actually another baby's card. I've just finished the baby shower card. Well, this time I wanted to create a card for a newborn baby, one that's actually arrived. And I've decided to go with the neutral colors again, but instead of the mint macaron that I used last time, I've decided to go with soft sea foam this time, which is a beautiful soft green. And I've used the same stamp set that I used last time, also Wildly Happy stamp set, because I just love it. But I've also incorporated this time some dies. I've used a oval die from the Heirloom Frames dies, and I've also used the Petal Labels dies. That's giving this lovely foliage effect around the outside. And I thought it framed that little fox and baby just so beautifully. And so we've this time I've got some embossing. I've used a basket weave embossing folder, and I've also used the Stampin' Blends to colour in the images just on the Whisper White cardstock this time. I've also applied some ribbon, as you can see, and just a few little sequins to lift it up. I've also popped in a card liner, and I'll talk about that during the tutorial and tell you how I go about doing that. And I've also created a little envelope that matches it, so everything is matching. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and let me know what you think. To get started, we're going to prepare our cardstock, and I've taken one piece of soft sea foam cardstock and a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and all I've done is cut each one in half. And then I've trimmed all four pieces 1/2 centimetre off the top and 1/2 centimetre off the side, and that's on all four pieces. And then I've taken a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock and I've scored it down the centre and folded it, and this will be our card base. So we can set this one aside till later. So the next thing I did was to actually use some dies, and the dies I'm going to be using today actually worked really well together. So I'm actually using the Heirloom Frame dies, and I'm also using the Petal Labels dies. So out of the Heirloom Frame dies, I'm using the oval, which is this one, and it just so happens to coordinate beautifully with the Petal Labels dies. It's just the right size for this other frame, so they work really well together. So I've taken one piece of my soft sea foam cardstock, and down in this bottom left corner I've simply laid my die on top, and I've cut that out so that I have an aperture in my card. So once I've done that, then what you need to do is take one of your Whisper White cardstock here, and you lay that on top so it's all lined up nicely, and just take a pencil. Whoops, moving everything here. Just take a pencil and lightly draw around the outline of that. And then you're going to take the other piece of soft sea foam, sorry guys, I can't seem to say this color, soft sea foam cardstock, and you're going to flip this over, and you're going to do the same thing, line it up and just use a pencil to mark that hole. Okay, so once we've done that, then it's just a matter of taking our Petal Labels die, and we can just line it up inside those marks that we've made and cut that out. And then on the soft sea foam piece, I'm simply going to turn it around like that and cut it out there. That just gives us some variation when we're layering one on top of the other. So I'll go ahead and do that and be right back. Okay, well I've gone away and I've done that now, and I've cut out, as you can see, my two frames, and aren't they beautiful? It's an absolutely beautiful die and does a lovely job. So now, just to give you an idea of how everything's going to layer up, I'll show you how it's going to work. So the oval that we cut first will sit on top of this Whisper White cardstock piece like that, and then the other soft sea foam, I don't know why I keep saying that, soft sea foam piece, we're going to flip over and it's going to sit under there. Now you can see that we've got some nice variation in that foliage. And then our last piece of Whisper White cardstock will sit on the bottom, and that's where we're going to be stamping our images. So you can see we've got a lovely frame happening now. Also, you'll note that inside this die there's some beautiful little tiny flowers that can pop out, and I've actually just set them aside over here to keep as little embellishments, and I might use those later on my card, I might not, but I'll still keep them because they're lovely tiny little flowers that you can embellish a card with later if you'd like. Now the next thing I want to do is add some embossing to my oval, my top piece, and I'm going today be using the Basket Weave Dynamic Embossing Folder. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all emboss this bottom left corner simply by popping it into my embossing folder like that and lining it up with the pattern, not right up the top there so I don't get a harsh line, but moving it down so it's actually lined up with the pattern. And then I'm going to emboss this, but I'm going to stop short of the end of my embossing folder, and that's just so I don't get a harsh line here. I want a nice soft edge. And then when I've done that, I'm going to turn my cardstock around and I'm going to emboss the opposite corner of that cardstock, doing the same thing, lining it up, and again not going right to the edge to give myself a nice soft edge. So I'll go away and do that and show you what it looks like. So there you have it. I've gone ahead and done my embossing, and as you can see I've done this bottom left corner and also the top right corner, and I have it just sort of fading off to nothing on each of those. Don't worry about these bits that aren't embossed because we're going to be doing some tearing later. But before we get to that, we're going to start stamping our images. And the stamp set I'm using today is called Wildly Happy. I've used this previously on another baby card and I just love it so much that I'm using it again. And first of all, I'm going to be stamping our focal image, which will go in the center of the frame. And of course, these little foxes are perfect because they almost look like an oval in the shape that they're curled up. So I'm going to start with this image to begin with. And I'm using my Stamparatus to do this. I find it really an amazing tool for when you're trying to line anything up. It just frees you up, it holds your cardstock in place, and it's a really great tool. So all I've done is I've taken my piece of Whisper White cardstock that I haven't cut, that's my base piece, and I've just laid on top my embossed piece and lined it up like that. And then I've taken the piece, the oval piece that I've cut out of here, the frame piece, and I've just laid it inside that circle just to give me a little bit more of guidance as to where I can put my image, because when you look at the die cut pieces you can see the die cuts actually fit in that oval shape, so I know that if I stamp anywhere in here it's going to avoid that foliage. So I just do that, and then I lay my stamp on here and turn my Stamparatus over and pick it up. So as you can see I've got my little foxes all lined up inside of that hole. So all I need to do is take my Memento Tuxedo black ink. I'm using that today because we're going to be using our Stampin' Blends to color our images, and I'm just going to ink it up. And the other great thing about your Stamparatus is that if you don't get a crisp image first go, you can just keep stamping until you're happy with it. So we're just going to pop him there like that. Oh, I should say her, it's a mama and a baby, not a him. So I'll do that, and I'm quite happy with that image. I think that looks really, really nice. So I'm going to move on to my next one. I'm just going to take my really dirty chamois, as you can see, but it still works really well. I'm going to clean off my stamp, and I think the next stamp I'm going to do is the little pandas. I just want their little faces up in the corner of my card. So to do that I'm going to need to mask this area so I don't get any stamping on it. So I'm actually going to leave my oval in place and just remove this piece. I'm going to take my little pandas. They're there. Move that over. And I want them up in this corner, this top corner here. So I'm just going to place them right up the top here, like that. And pick them up. And you can see that that mask is going to stop any of that inking going into our framed area. So we'll do the same thing, take the Memento ink and ink up our pandas and stamp them up in the corner. There we go, like that. And so I can take that away and I know that's not going to be in my framed area. So I'll just clean those off, and there's one other I would like to add to my card. Let's see. And that is these little cute bunnies. I kind of wanted them down in this other corner, so I'll just move my card stock. Let's see. Maybe best I'll move my Stamparatus around this way so I can get at that corner, that bottom corner. That should be okay. Pop our magnets down like that, and I want my bunnies in this corner here. So I don't think I'm going to need my mask. No, they're going to be well out of the way, so I don't need to mask. So let's see, where am I going to have my bunnies? I want a little hill area under here to sort of hide them a little bit, so I don't want them right down the bottom. If I bring in my frame, let's see, where would they look good? Okay, so you can use your frame just to give yourself an idea. I think I'd like them there. Okay, pick them up and ink a stamp up. That. Bring it back in and we'll pop them down there. And there we have all our 3 images stamped, ready to colour in. Well, I thought I'd bring the camera down a bit closer for you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. I hope this works okay. Anyway, these are the colours I'm going to be using. I'm using the light and dark grey granite. I'm going to be using light soft seafoam, and I'm also going to be using our colour lifter to colour in our animals. So as always, I usually like to start with the shadow area. So we're going to start on our bunnies, and so for that I'm going to be using the dark grey granite, and I will go in where I think there's going to be a shadow area. So that will be under the bunny's chin here and next to the other bunny there, like that, and also just behind this hind leg. I think there will be. Now I'm just going to work on little sections at a time. I'm going to come in with my light grey granite now, and I'm going to come over that area that I've just done and blend that out a little bit. And put a little bit under here, underneath his tummy. You probably won't see this bit anyway because I'm going to put a little hill next to them, underneath them rather. And then I'm going to come in with my colour lifter, and I'm just going to work these 2 together like that, so that I get a nice soft blend. Now I think on his back I'm going to use the light grey granite just on his back here, like that, and under the eyes usually, and I'll blend that out. And you can see I'm just working little bits at a time because it's best just to work while the ink is wet. I'm going to blend it out like that. I don't want these images too dark because it is a baby's card, so I'm trying to keep them nice and light. And then I'm going to use my dark grey granite here behind the ear, a little bit here, a bit under this fold where there's a fold under the ear there. Come in with the light grey granite. Same here, and just blend that out. And I'll add a bit of the light grey granite just down around this edge here. I'm going to add a little bit on his nose, her nose I should say. I have to stop saying him. It's a mummy and a baby, not a him. And then I'm going to blend them with my colour lifter. Like that. And then the little baby, cute little baby, is under her mummy's chin, so a little bit of shadow here, a bit of shadow in this back ear, shadow under the chin here and underneath, and just at the back here. Coming with the light grey granite, and we're going to blend that with the colour lifter. And I do this, and then I will come back with another layer if I feel like I need more colour. But I always start light and then add to it because it's a lot harder to take off than it is to add. So I keep working like that until I'm happy with all my shadows, and I'm going to use the same colours on all my images. So I'll go ahead and do that, then I'll show you how I add a little bit of background to that. Okay, well I'm happy with my bunnies now. As you can see, I've just got a little bit of colour on them. I sort of wanted to keep them nice and light. Now just to tie this in with our background, I'm going to come in with my light soft sea foam, and I'm just going to come right up to the edge of the bunnies. This is why you need your images to be nice and dry before you do this, like that. And then I'm going to take my colour lifter and I'm going to work my way out from that colour. And you can see that just gives a nice soft little halo effect around our bunnies, and that's going to tie that in with the rest of our project. So I'll go ahead and finish the rest of my images and I'll be back.